In part A, we want to be able to eliminate the parameter to find a Cartesian equation of the curve x is equal to sine of 1/2 theta, y is equal to cosine of 1/2 theta, when theta is in between negative pi and pi. So, first thing we know is that the value of x is equal to the sine of 1/2 theta. We also know that y is equal to the cosine of 1/2 theta. Now, if we decide to square both sides, we're going to get x squared, which is equal to the sine squared of 1/2 theta. And if we square both sides, we get y squared, which is equal to the cosine squared of 1/2 theta. So what we do know is that we have an identity. If we have sine squared of 1/2 theta plus cosine squared of 1/2 theta, we know that's going to equal 1. And then we can also replace sine squared 1/2 theta to be x squared plus cosine squared 1/2 theta is y squared plus 1. But there is a restriction for negative pi to theta and then from theta to pi. Now when we're looking at this restriction up here, we're going to go from negative pi for theta to 0. And if that's the case, then what does it tell us for x and y? Well, that tells us that x is going to be in between -1 and 0. And y is going to be in between 0 and 1. So now when we're going from 0, where theta is in between 0 and positive pi, x is in between 0 and 1. Where we include 1. And y is in between 0 and 1, where we include 0. So what that means is if it's going from negative pi to pi, that's going to probably look like a semicircle. So now let's take a look at part B. We want to be able to sketch the curve and then indicate with an arrow the direction in which the curve is traced as the parameter increases. So if we know that we're going to be going from negative pi to pi, we're going to get negative pi over 2, 0, pi over 2, and then pi. And we're going to plug in these values in for theta to find out what x and y is. So we're going to take sine of 1/2 of negative pi. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we take the sine of, that's going to be negative pi times 1/2. So that's divided by 2. Well, that's going to give us -1. And if we put in the cosine of negative pi divided by 2, then we're going to get 0. Okay, and so now let's go ahead and put in now the sine of 1/2 times negative pi over 2, which is going to be negative pi divided by 4 when you multiply them together, and that gives us negative 0.71. And then if we plug that into y, we're going to have the cosine of negative pi also divided by 4, which is going to give us a positive 0.72. Okay, now we want to find the sine of 0. We know the sine of 0 is going to give us what? 0. And then what is the cosine of 1/2 times 0? Well, that's the cosine of 0, and we should know that to be 1. Okay, and now what is the sine of pi over 4, meaning sine of positive pi over 4? So the sine of positive pi divided by 4 is going to give us positive 0.71. And that should be 0.71 here. Make sure that's corrected. 0.71. And then we're going to find the cosine of pi over 4. And that's going to give us also 0.71. Now let's put in positive pi. So here we want to find the sine of pi over 2. And that's going to give us positive 1. And then if we write the cosine of pi over 2, and we get 0. So now we know our ordered pairs. We have negative 1, 0, negative 0.71, 0.71. We have 0, 1, 0.71, 0.71, and then 1, 0. So let's go ahead and plot that on our graph. So we have negative 1, 0. We have negative 0.71 and positive 0.71. So we'll say that's right around here. Then we have 0, 1. And we have 0.71 and positive 0.71. That's right about there. And then we have 1, 0. So now we're going to go ahead and connect our points. Okay, this is our initial. This is the ending point. This is when t is equal to negative pi. T is equal to negative pi over 2. T which is equal to 0. T which is equal to positive pi over 2. And t which is equal to positive pi. So this is when t is equal to negative pi. This is when t is equal to negative pi over 2. This is when t is equal to 0. Here we have t, which is equal to pi over 2. And over here, t is equal to positive pi. So, since we're starting out at negative pi and going to negative pi over 2, then there is the direction of our arrow of this parametric curve.